Hello, friends, comrades, fellow humans. Welcome to today's podcast of Triumph Over Tragedy. I went to the Phoenix, Arizona area for my next guest, and a remarkable person. She's actually from southwestern Kentucky, but calls Phoenix, Arizona her home because she's been there for such a long time. She's an author. She has a dedication for suicide prevention, and that's what we're going to kind of discuss in today's episode. And she's also, as I mentioned, an author, and her books have been in the CC&D Magazine a couple of different times. And I hope that you listen intently and are able to gain from her wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, the human race, please help me welcome my next guest, Erica McBeth. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for letting me be here in Tempe. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Tempe.
Tempe.
Yes, Tempe.
Arizona. Tempe.
Tempe.
Tempe. Mm-hmm. How do you spell it?
T-E-M-P-E.
Someone just said at the front desk, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The accent is on the P, so Tempe.
Okay. Tempe.
Arizona.
All right. But most people like me would call it Phoenix, being from Minnesota.
Right.
I mean, you're right on the edge of Phoenix. So,
right.
Thanks for letting me sit down with you this morning.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed, I'm from Minnesota. You born and raised here?
No, actually, I grew up in Kentucky.
Okay.
So the one thing you'll notice about Phoenix is not a lot of people are actually from Phoenix.
Sure.
We get a lot of implants. So
Yeah.
being from someplace else is not unusual.
Yeah.
But I've been here for 20 years.
Okay. So yeah, I mean,
home.
it's right. It's home, definitely. Well, so the first thing I noticed, I go into my room and I wash my hands, and your water smells so different than ours back
Really?
home. Not saying bad, it's just different.
Yeah.
It's really crazy, like the different things that you notice when you travel and things like that. Like weird things. I mean, I know I'm weird, but the weird things like the water smell. It's just wild.
If you're here long enough, you'll also feel like your skin is really dry too.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I have
Just
to.
the dry.
I have to warn
air?
people that are going to be here for long periods of time to like watch their heels, because believe it or not, your heels will dry out.
Is that right?
Yeah, and so there are a lot of people that have like cracked, like really dry heels.
Yeah, it's like us in the wintertime.
Right. There's like certain little tricks that you have to learn about living in Arizona that like other people would never even think of.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed the water smelling different when you come back, if you travel or anything like that? It is very different.
Not really, but maybe that's because I'm used to it.
Sure. Like, I mean, I've been to China and Ireland and Spain and some other countries, and their water, same thing. Like, it smells different. Like, everywhere you go, it's just a little different. It's weird.
Or maybe it's the hotel filter. Maybe it could be that.
No, it's not.
No?
It's not like this hotel doesn't smell the same as like the hotel in Spain.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Weird.
Yeah, I know, it is weird. I mean, it could be the filtration system. It's different everywhere you go.
I will tell you, you need to drink a lot of it. Drink a lot of water.
Yeah, and not the pool water, right?
And definitely not pool water.
Yeah.
You need to drink a lot of water when you're here, because that's the mistake a lot of people make.
Yeah.
And too many people come in and get heat stroke. Now, you're not going to get heat stroke probably today, because it's only, going to be like 95?
I think 97 or something, did I hear or see on, I don't remember, but yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Anything below 108 is actually cool.
Right. Yeah. And we'll be like, we'll have to go into the pool like 5-6 times an hour to stay cool when you're from Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, 97 degrees, that's pretty crazy for us. But.
I know, I say it out loud and I'm like, wow, that sounds ridiculous. But no, we live it every day, so it's fine.
Yeah, you get used to everything. Well, I've never gotten used to the cold yet, but, it's just, you can't. I don't know. People say, well, I'd rather have it cold because you can put on more layers and things like that. And I don't think that's really true.
No, because I'll tell you what, you don't have to shovel sunshine.
That's true.
And you can go from
just shovel it in.
Air-conditioned building to air-conditioned building. And yes, it's super hot in the summertime, like very scorching hot.
Yeah.
But, it's a minor part of the year, 3, 4, 5 months, and then you're done.
Right. And see, we have like 7 or 8 months of winter. I mean, last year we had snow October something, and it pretty nearly stayed for the whole year. Certainly stayed in November, like the whole season we had snow. Insane.
Yeah. Roads
closed like 5 or 6 times in the winter, you know. I mean, just crazy stuff.
But I can't do that anymore.
No. Did you have snow in Kentucky?
Yeah. We had some major. Southwestern Kentucky, about an hour north of Nashville, Tennessee.
Sure.
I grew up on a 3,000 acre farm there.
Okay.
So, we definitely got some snowstorms for sure. When my first year of college, there was a snowstorm that came in that shut down the whole state. I remember getting stuck in the dorm for like a week.
Yeah.
We ran out of booze and ran out of food, and we were like all trying to track out in the middle of the snow.
You threw the food in there, right? Because you want people to feel a little sorry for you.
Yeah, well,
because the food's somewhat important.
The food was really the main thing we were looking for, to be honest, at some point. But there was also no booze. Like that was actually probably the first couple of days. Yeah,
that was tragic.
That was the tragedy right there.
The food was that sucks, but the booze was the tragic part.
Yeah, but it was like the most fun week because it shut down the entire state. Nobody could go anywhere. We're just trapped in the dorm. So like Kentucky gets its fair share of snowstorms.
Yeah.
So I remember that life. I just don't have that life anymore.
Right. I don't blame you because I'm so sick of the snow, and I get to travel quite a bit now with what I do, and so I get away from it, and I think I can tolerate it a little bit better that way. And Erica, I gotta say too, it's so early in the morning here.
Sorry.
I mean, not really, but kind of, and it's actually 2 hours. You're 2 hours behind from where I am.
I know,
but it still feels like 7 o'clock in the morning to me.
Yeah.
So
it's
going to take my brain a little while to get going. So I might, let me just take a nap for a little while. You just talk.
I'll just go.
Just go, and I'll doze off.
Matt, you should not tempt me because I will. I'll just go.
Just go?
I'll just go.
Right. In your introduction, I mentioned about you're an animal lover.
Oh, yeah.
And tell me about your animals. Do they get you up in the morning and get you excited? Are they kind of like me and it takes a long time to get going? Or
No. Well, I have 3 miniature Australian Shepherds.
Okay.
And they're older now, so they're pretty much trained, leave mom alone until she decides to wake up.
Yeah.
But as soon as I'm up and they know, it's bark, bark, bark all the way down the stairs. Because that's what they do.
Right.
So, I mean, I've had them a long time. All 3 of them are considered unadoptable, quote unquote.
Okay.
So they all have major issues of some.
So you adopted them.
Right. In fact, I don't think that 2 of them I even really adopted. The rescue just said, please take these and sanctuary them and go in good health.
Kind of like foster them forever?
Foster forever.
Yeah.
I call it sanctuary because they're safe and the rescue knows where they are. They know that they're with me. I take care of, I don't ask them for anything. They're my dogs.
Yeah, okay.
For sure. But I've got one that's just really, really, really shy.
Okay.
One that hates men and has a history of destroying houses.
Oh, wow.
And one that doesn't like to be touched. So I call it I'm the nut that holds the crazy wheel together.
Okay.
And then
do they get along with each other though with those different issues or
Yeah, they just don't like people. They don't like people.
They like each other.
But they love each other. In fact, I've been complaining because I'm they're a little bit elitist because they don't accept other dogs or other animals.
Okay.
And about 3 months ago, I had a cat that
foster?
No.
Again? No.
I came home from the gym and he was sitting out front of my house and I said, well, hi baby, who are you? And what are you doing? And he just eyeballed me and started circling me and meowing like crazy to the point where I'm texting my cat friends and I'm like, guys, is this cat about to bite me? What is happening here? I don't
Attack.
know. I don't understand. And they were like, well, he probably just wants some attention. So I gave him some water because it was hot outside.
Yeah.
Didn't want the water. Just started doing the whole thing on my legs, how cats do.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And my neighbors come up and they're like, what's going on with the cat? And I was like, I really don't know. And the cat starts jumping to catch my hand on his head. And I'm like, I don't know what is happening here. And ends up I was like, I don't know what to do with you and I don't speak cat. And so I just opened the door and I said, I don't know. Do you want to come in?
Yeah.
And he walked in my house, slept in the bed with me and my 3 dogs that first night.
Really?
And has never left since. So the dogs are a little elitist to the cat because they don't want to include him.
Okay.
But he's also a cat.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So there's some controversy between them a little bit, maybe call it, with space and things like that. Who gets closest to you? And
well, the cat's a jerk.
Okay.
And we all know it.
Yeah.
But that's his personality because he's a cat.
Yeah.
I really like the cat. The cat.
Is it a Siamese cat?
No, it's an all black cat.
All black. Okay.
I know. I actually have a friend of mine that is a witch that I called her right away and I said, "Does this mean something?"
Right.
A black cat just came to live in my house and I don't know why.
She's like, I'm gonna sign you up, Erica.
She just sent me back
You're
one.
a witch.
She just sent me back a text
club?
message that just said, "Yes, it means something." What? Tell me.
Yeah.
But no, the dogs are super elitist to the cat because they move like fluid motion, the 3 of them, like all through the house.
Okay.
And when the cat comes in, all 3 of them eye him kind of nastily and just jump up and lead.
Okay.
So I'm like, could we just all get together and
Right.
be a family here?
Right.
Stop being such elitist.
Yeah.
Be family.
Yeah. Nice. So does the cat does the cat drive the dogs away sometimes, or does the cat kind of get up high and hide?
No, the cat's right there with him. Like the dogs go at the cat, and the cat goes at the dog.
Aha. So it does stand up for itself.
Oh yeah. Like
okay.
I don't think that they're being mean to each other. I think they're sort of playing or testing each other out
like,
because they
the alpha type thing, maybe.
Well, yeah, because they're trying to like figure out, okay, where do you fit in my pack? And so that's kind of what's going on at my house right now. And I would call the dogs racist, except for they're black too. So
there you go.
It doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah. Well, in a lot of cases, especially when the dogs are older, a cat coming into the house, that doesn't go very well.
Right.
So it sounds like it's going pretty well.
Yeah. Like, well, what kind of cat wanders into your house when you have 3 dogs? Like, I'm just like stunned. And when I say he adopted me.
Yeah.
He adopted me.
Sure.
And, after a week of being there, I had a conversation with him and I said, okay, look, buddy, here's how it's going to go. Today is not going to go very well for you because if you're going to live in the house, you can't have balls. I'm sorry. Just cannot happen.
All right.
I know that's probably to the chagrin of everybody that I've ever dated.
Sure.
But it can't happen in my house. And so I said, today, not going to lie to you.
Hey, I love that you're real, and that's what this is about.
Yeah, I was like, not going to lie to you. This is going to hurt today.
Yeah.
But look at it this way. Once you come home, you get to live with me for the rest of your life. And so, we went in, we got the snip done.
Yeah.
He came in. He actually had ear mites so bad.
Sure.
I think that he was so relieved to have that treated that he didn't even notice that there was some stuff missing.
How old's the cat then?
He is going to be, I'm going to count since he's a black cat, I'm counting him as a year old on Halloween.
There you go. I have a son, my youngest, born on Halloween, actually. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, yeah.
Yeah. He still has everything.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. You don't do that with people.
He'll be 20 this year, so no, he's good.
Yeah, you don't do that with people, just with cats.
Yes.
So
dogs?
And dogs.
Yes, all right.
Like cats and dogs, you definitely have to do it. And I looked at him and I was like, listen, this is going to lead to trouble later because then you're going to want to try to get out of my house to,
right.
Like get your groove on.
Right.
And, we can't, I don't want that. I want you to actually be here in the house and I don't want you spraying or anything. So I was like, we just got to get this taken care of.
I've heard that's terribly bad with those cats that have their stuff yet and spray.
Yes.
Ugh.
So, I mean, it was real. I'm sorry, if you're going to live here, you just can't have your balls.
Right.
So he made the sacrifice and now he is mine forever.
There you go. Did he have a choice?
No, he really didn't.
He didn't make the sacrifice then.
Well, the sacrifice was either you live in my house and have no balls or you can have your balls and live outside. And he was like, the air conditioning is nice.
Yeah, right.
So
the water, the air conditioning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Good. Well, let's transition into something else.
Let's transition to something a little harder topic.
We are recording this right after National Suicide Prevention Month.
Yes.
And that's why we're chatting, is because you're involved. Tell us about what you're involved with.
I actually sit on the Arizona board of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Yeah.
And so that is a national organization. What they do is they do a ton of research because suicide is a very, very complex issue.
For sure.
So for years, they've done a lot of different research on causes, how can we help? And what we're finding now is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention actually puts in programs where there is lack of programs.
Okay.
So a big concern right now is...
Give us an example of that. What does that mean? Lack of programs.
So for example...
Let's just take Gotham, right? City of Gotham.
Okay.
They don't have any programs.
They don't have any programs.
Right. They just have Batman.
Okay.
So they don't have any programs. So what happens then?
Okay. So so basically Batman, if this is suicide prevention,
right,
comes in and gives a lot of information for people that own guns. If you are in a depressed state, you probably shouldn't have access to firearms.
Sure.
Because we know 50% of death by suicide actually comes by firearms.
Sure.
So it's not gun control, but it is also really looking to get that education out so that people can be aware that you shouldn't have that access to it.
You probably shouldn't have heroin in the house.
Right, right. And people need to be paying attention, and they're not going to like it. Right. But kind of limiting those access to firearms if you are in a depressed state. Another situation.
So can I ask you a question there? So what's going through my mind right now is that okay? I own a firearm, I'm depressed, you come in and you educate me personally because you see that, correct?
Well, it's probably going to be someone that you know and trust.
Okay. Right, correct, yeah.
It would probably be like somebody like your wife is concerned, and so they may come to us for information.
Sure.
We provide her with the information so that she can say in a gentle and caring way, we need to move this away from you.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I like that a lot because I think that we're in a society that's so tolerant all the time and kind of ignore signals and ignore things. Mm-hmm. I think that's important. So I like where you're headed with it. So go ahead, continue.
So that's one area that we put a lot of focus into. Other areas would include a lot of people actually visit their primary care physician before they attempt suicide.
Okay.
And so we've been looking to introduce more programs for primary care physicians as well as emergency personnel because we find that there is a link between people actually having an emergency, going to their primary care physician, and also being at risk for suicide.
Okay.
So you may find in your own doctor's office now, if there is a box that says, are you depressed, your primary care physician is now more likely to actually have a conversation with you about that.
Okay, that's terrific. Am I going to admit that I'm depressed? Am I going to notice that I'm depressed?
Some people do, yes.
Okay.
Most people know in their head that they probably need the help.
There's something.
They just don't know how to express it.
Okay.
And then there are some people that really have a tough time expressing it, but a lot of times if you just see like an innate little box on your form and you know that's you'll check it off thinking it's just a little box.
Yeah.
It's not going to lead to anything.
Sure.
But what you don't understand behind that box is people notice that and is now a red flag for them to say, we need to have a conversation about this. And the main thing really is addressing suicide head on, because people think that if you say the word suicide, that means that, oh my gosh, I'm going to put an idea in their head. No, if the idea is in their head, it's already in their head.
Yeah.
So you saying the word is not going to trigger something for that. And in fact, if you come at it in a very caring way and you look them in the eye and you say, I know you've been really depressed lately.
Yeah.
Have you thought about taking your own life?
Yeah.
I'm just asking you because I love you and I'm concerned about you.
Yeah.
Addressing it head on like that and openly without judgment or criticism, that actually helps a lot of people to be able to open up in ways that they maybe would not have.
Sure. Because it kind of diffuses it and
The thing about being depressed, there is something, when you're depressed, like the whole adage is, if you're depressed, you should reach out. But the problem is when you're depressed, you can't.
You can't, you can't
do it.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
So we have to be more proactive, and when we see people that need help, actually addressing it head on and saying in a loving way, what can I do to help you, because you mean really a lot to me.
Yeah.
And we don't have those conversations enough now.
Yeah. And that kind of is bringing me to Kate and the mask.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah, I did some research.
Oh, you did your research. Yes.
And I think it's so, talk about that a little bit so that everybody understands who Kate is. Whether it's her real name, I don't know, but the mask is so important.
Yeah, it actually,
that's really crazy important.
It actually is her real name.
Yeah.
So maybe I should just kind of start it, how I got involved.
Transition there from wherever, because I agree. It's hard for me to take off my mask, and every one of us wears a lot of them, and some of them get like glued on, right?
Oh,
and that depression and things like that, it'd be hard to take that off to reach out to someone. So talk about that. You wrote a book.
I did. So this is how it all started.
Yeah.
In 2017, 2017 was not my year by any stretch of the imagination.
Sure.
Not a great year for me. So I think it was late November, early December, I heard about this Out of the Darkness walk.
Okay.
And my friend Katie's brother had died by suicide within the last year. So I grabbed Katie and I said, we should go to this.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why. It was just one of those weird Erica moments that sometimes I decided to go off and do something.
Yeah.
And I was
so for a friend, and you hoping it maybe help.
I was like, come on, this sounds fun. We should go.
Yeah.
Well, I really wasn't processing on how emotional that was actually going to be for Katie.
Sure.
But it was also actually really very healing for her as well.
Okay.
And I got there, and I'm looking out at this whole audience of people. And one of the speakers was actually talking about how our community is a patchwork quilt.
Okay.
And some of the pieces of fabric are more vibrant than others.
Sure.
But if ever you rip one of those pieces of fabric out, every single piece of fabric around it is actually affected.
Right.
And that's what suicide does.
Yeah.
And it hit me when they said that. And I looked out at this big sea of people, and we're talking, there was 2,000 people in the audience that day. 2018, we actually had 3,000 people there. 2019, we're expecting about 4,000 people there.
Oh, wow, that's terrific.
It's terrific that we're gathering people. It's not terrific that many people have been affected by suicide.
Yes, but I see it as people like you who haven't been directly affected by it other than friends. And that's if I understand my research correctly. And so you're being proactive, right? You're not allowing the tragedy to happen first and then getting involved.
Right.
So 2,000 of those people may be you.
And by the way, if you know someone that has died by suicide, your risk factor actually goes up.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Why is that? And I digress a little bit off of your story, but I think it's really important to address that.
Quite frankly, I don't know the research behind it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just be candid and say I don't.
Yeah.
Except for the only thing I can think of is birds of a feather flock together.
Okay.
And if people, like, if you have depression issues that maybe run through family, maybe it's sometimes genetic, or if there are other, like, factors, or perhaps you saw something happen, it really, like, you saw somebody that was very close to you that died by suicide.
Yeah.
And it so affected you, it drove you into a depression that you begin to be thinking about those thoughts as well.
Okay.
So I don't know the exact research behind it,
Sure.
but we do know that there is a direct correlation that your risk goes up if someone close to you actually dies.
Really?
So,
see, I would expect the opposite. That's remarkable. I know the statistics are accurate, and I'm not saying that, but that, to me, in my mind, that would be completely opposite.
It's grief, man. It's grief. Grief does crazy things to people.
I understand that firsthand.
Yeah.
But I disagree that I think grief is controllable the sense that we have to be proactive from the outside and having people like face it and deal with it and walk through the process and steps of it. But wow, to me, there's been nobody super close to me that has taken their own life, but the people that I can think of, I would run as far from it as I could, I think.
Everybody is different.
Sure.
So everybody walks their own walk.
But statistics are still statistics.
Statistics
It's a
are
hard
still,
word to say, isn't it?
Yeah, statistics are still statistics. But if I'm looking out over those 2,000 people, and I really looked at it, and I thought, wow, all of these people were affected by someone that died by suicide.
And you with Katie.
I bet that a lot of those people that died felt a little like I do right now, because I was depressed.
Sure.
Like, I wasn't at the point of thinking of taking my own life, but, you know, I would go up into my bedroom every night, and I'd take my 3 little dogs with me because my cat was not in the picture at the time.
Yeah.
But I'd take the 3 little dogs, we'd curl up in the bed, and every night we'd go through this, and I would shut my door, and I was just not in a very good place. And I'm thinking, well, what am I doing sitting there shutting my door when I'm looking out? And any number of these people, what if they just had somebody reach out to them?
Sure.
I could be that person. So in 2018, I was so inspired by that 2018, I decided I was going to meet one new person a week for a full year.
Yeah.
So 52 new people.
Nice.
And as I met...
Plug your book right now.
Yeah, so I wrote a book called 52 New Friends.
Yeah.
It is my adventure and the people that I met along this journey of meeting one new person a week.
That's hard to do, isn't it?
Actually, no, it was super easy.
Well, I'm really to like sit down like we are and meet people.
Yeah, it was...
People take the time to do that?
I was shocked because I really thought at the beginning of this that I thought that I was going to be wandering into Starbucks coffee shops and like coming up to somebody like you and saying, hi, I am doing this thing where I meet one new person a week and would you like to be my friend this week? Look, I have a blog, I'm really legitimate.
Yeah.
I thought that was how it was going to eventually go down.
Sure.
It never went that way.
Is that right?
I put it out just on social media because I thought, well, hey, I'll put it out there. Maybe some of my friends know some people.
Sure, they would snowball.
And I thought, okay.
Do you know what snowball means?
Yes.
Being from, I'm kidding.
So I decided, so I tried that.
Yeah.
And it just it snowballed because here's what happened. All of a sudden, I have all these people. Yeah, I have a friend that'd like to talk to you. Yeah, I've got a friend that'll talk to you. I've got a couple of friends that want to talk to you. And then I started talking to them. And then they had friends that were like, this is a great idea, and we should do more of this. And then Channel 12 did a little news bit on me. And I put it, and then it really took off. Honestly, by the time I was about halfway through, I had to cut it off because...
so you had a list.
I couldn't get to people fast enough.
Wow.
And there were people that I was like, really, I'm going to come back to you. You're on my list, I promise. And it was like 3 or 4 months later before I could even get back to them. There's such a huge need for just human connection out there.
Human connection is so crucial.
And not human connection via social media. Human connection like what we're doing today.
Yes,
like eye to eye.
That is not connection.
Yeah.
No.
We think we're so connected, but studies have actually shown that we are more lonely today than we were 15 years ago.
Absolutely.
So Kate, as you mentioned, was actually one of the people I sat down with.
Yeah.
And Kate was interesting because Kate was going through some really challenging times. And
Well, Kate had a challenging life.
Her father died really early on.
Yeah.
Her mother had recently passed away. She was having issues at her job at the moment.
Yeah.
But then she also had some wonderful things. Like she won the Showcase Showdown on The Price is Right.
Nice.
And as I'm talking to her, it really took me a long time to really write Kate's little tidbit.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking, who is she really? And I kept trying to dig through, and it occurred to me that everything that she talked about, she wore a different mask.
Sure.
And so that's why I call that particular portion of it the mask.
Yeah.
Because she had a mask for each one. Now, here's the good news. From what I know of Kate now, and by the way, I kept up with a lot of these people.
Okay, I was about to ask that.
A lot of them.
Yeah, thank you.
Way more than you actually think, to the point where I had to stop myself from doing it because I was like, there's no way I can keep up in a genuine way all of these people.
Right. How could you afford to go have coffee all that often, right?
Well,
I'm being facetious.
It's not just the coffee, but it's also the time. Because for genuine friendships, you have to invest in that time.
Yes.
And so, but good news is she's actually found another job she seems to be doing really, really well in.
Nice.
And she seems like she's in a much happier place now.
Yeah.
But at the moment, sometimes you just need somebody to listen to you.
For sure. Absolutely.
And here's the interesting thing. I always
and
thought...
not comment on Facebook and not like it and heart it. And we need to do that too. And I get
Sure.
that. I mean, especially with writing a book and things, you need to have that ability to connect with people that you couldn't sit down with.
Right.
It's important.
It's super important.
But it's not crucial. The big difference between, important and crucial, it's crucial to have water.
Right.
It's important to have Pepsi. Right?
Well, I don't drink
Or
soda,
booze.
but it's important. It's important to have things you like.
Yes. So what I'm saying is there's such a difference. Human connection, face to face, crucial. We cannot live without it.
Correct. And I didn't realize how crucial it was, because here's the interesting thing. I set out on this mission to help other people.
Yeah.
And what I actually found is 3 months in, I was like, I'm not depressed anymore.
Yeah.
And by 6 months in, I was like, I have to get more people doing this.
Yes.
And so I turned my blog into a book called 52 New Friends that you can buy it on Amazon.
Okay.
My name is Erica McBeth. You can find it up there.
And at the end, we'll put on, if they watch on YouTube, we'll put a good way to reach out to you or your book or whatever. So
Perfect.
we'll plug that at the end.
Perfect. And the reason,
more. We'll plug it more.
The reason I want it plugged specifically is because all of my profits go right directly back to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Like I have it set up so it's got a little separate bank account so that like I take that money and I just move it right over to donations.
Awesome.
So it's really important to me to actually sell the book, only because it actually helps benefit those programs that are so life-saving and so crucial to people.
Good. Well, I contributed to that and I didn't even realize.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations, and there's more to come.
I didn't mean that to plug me, but it's good to know. I say I feel good about that now.
Yeah.
That's really good to know.
I met some of the most incredible people that told me things that I was like, what? That I would have never heard of. The only thing, and they were all accidental. They were just all accidental people or somebody that was referred to me. I legitimately did not know them when I sat down with them. And trust me, if I wanted to do 52 more, I could do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because there are that many people out there that are that hungry to meet people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mask. Well, let's circle back around to the mask.
Circle it back.
Yeah. So, you had a mask on when you went into this event.
Yes.
Right? And so talk about how you learned, obviously going through this story, but how you learned that you had a mask on at that point, right? Like how you locked yourself in your bedroom and that wasn't really you and things like that. That's a mask.
Well, I think a lot of us wear masks.
For sure. How do we take them off? What?
I grew up Southern. Isn't that the Southern way?
Yeah.
You put on
For sure.
the happy face,
Yeah.
and you just go throughout your day, and you don't ever mention any of your troubles.
Right.
So I, from an early age, I learned how to put on the mask.
Yeah.
And I try to just be very open and forthright, but there are certain things that even I hold super, super personal. Nobody wants to hear, like, that's not correct. We should edit that part out.
Well, this is live. It's recorded, but it's live.
So
you can correct it now.
So I will correct it now. So when you have that mask, it feels like nobody wants to listen to my troubles.
Okay.
Who wants to listen to that?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Right.
In reality, if you're struggling, there are a lot of people out there that could be very, very kind to you. If you know the people to come to. I feel like I'm one of those people. I hope I'm one of those people that people feel.
It sounds like you became one of those people for sure through the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope that
and I think we all have to become at some point, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But, I would encourage more people to go out and do the things they did. Now, maybe people don't want to go out and meet 52 new people because that just seems like way too many people.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. But, if I can do
maybe 12.
Yeah.
One a month.
If I can do 52 in a year, maybe you can do one a month.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can do, one every 3 months or whatever's really comfortable for people. people are really hungry for it.
Yeah.
And so,
you know what? I'm going to just say something here. I think that the people who are most hungry for that human connection are the people who cancel meetings the most. Have you found that? I found that personally. Like, I have to put in a lot more. I put in a lot more effort when I notice that. Like when someone says, it's 2 hours and I'm not going to make it. And there's this excuse and that excuse and this reason or that reason to them, right?
Yeah.
And those people, I have found that if you're more persistent with them and they're like, okay, no problem, let's try tomorrow, right? And you just keep at it. There are some people that I've had to just say, all right, I'm done now. But I think that what I want to say right here is if you have someone like that in your life, just hammer on them, right? Yeah. Figure out how to meet them. Show up at work and be creepy like, it's 5 o'clock and let's just run across the street and grab a coffee. You know what I mean? Like, there's something going on. Have you found that?
Some people are naturally flaky, but I'm going to actually relate this back to my own personal experience right this second.
Yeah, and that's my personal experience. Like, those people who constantly cancel are the people who need that connection the most.
Because I'm the type of girl that I always laugh and giggle around and I say, all you got to say is, hey, you wanna? And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go, let's do it. And I don't really put a lot of thought into... so I'm always, my schedule is always full, like bam, 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 bam.
I'm the same way.
Because I'm energetic. I like doing that type of thing. So right at this very moment, one of my dogs, I know his liver is failing and his heart is failing.
Okay. Sorry to hear that.
And I didn't think he'd make it past Labor Day. And we're a month out.
Yeah.
So he is actually doing a little bit better, but he's not long for this world.
Sure.
So I have a little grief about that. The woman who's really kind of my second mother.
Yeah.
She has cancer.
Okay.
And has had a lot of illness over the last year, which has gotten really, really bad. We got some bad news a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And so I know I can see that grief coming. Already that grief I can feel is there in my body. So all of a sudden this girl that's like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. All of a sudden I'm getting really super picky about the things that I take on because I just don't have the energy to do it.
Sure.
And it's not because I'm not an energetic person. It's because I now have like this 50-pound rock that is just attached to my chest that I'm walking around, and it's really super hard. And so I'm a person that has suffered with depression periodically throughout my life.
Yeah.
Because I know that is who I am.
Sure.
And I know that has been my path. Now that I'm in my 40s, I recognize it a lot more than I did, say, when I was in my 20s.
Okay.
And so I can recognize I'm going through some depression. So you know what? Now a lot of people are getting no, I can't, or they never got that before. And you know what they're doing? They're doing exactly what you're doing. They're reaching out. They're writing me notes. They're sending me texts all the time. And honestly, it makes me feel super loved.
Yeah.
That they're actually doing that. And I'm probably a little more honest than most because I'm just telling them, listen, I got some issues, man. Like, I got some problems. And
we all do.
I don't know that everybody can be really that open about it. So I think you're right. I think when you've got somebody, particularly if it's something that they're normally not like that, and you're finding they're canceling plans a lot, there probably is something going on in their life that you probably need to ask a few more questions about. Some of the signs of someone who is thinking about suicide, and I think this is fascinating and interesting, is right towards the end, they may be depressed. They get a little spike of happiness at the very end because they've already made that decision.
So it's a relief.
Right. And,
I see.
And so they may gather around family a little closer and really seem to be fine because in their head they've already made that decision.
Sure.
That's actually a warning sign.
Okay.
Another warning sign is if they start giving things away to you, like keepsakes, that sort of thing. It's a sign of they may have gotten close to make it. And that's really a sign that somebody needs to have that loving conversation with them.
Yeah.
So all of these are signs.
Yeah. So, and make sure that they're being open and honest with you when you have that loving conversation, right?
Well,
I mean, when I say make sure, I mean, listen actively, not
right.
passively.
I think most people, if you really talk to them directly, because it's like they have all this pent up inside of them. If you ask them directly and in a loving way, in a loving environment where they feel safe, you might be surprised they may really open up to you and really start talking about it. And just the fact that you've reached out to them and have expressed love and care about them may give them the inclination to really think twice.
Sure.
Because when people die by suicide, my friend Katie, whose brother passed away, she explained it this way.
Yeah.
She said, I really had a hard time getting over the grief because I kept thinking, what could I have done differently? What could I have done differently? What could I have done differently?
Yeah.
And what she finally came up to was, she said he had a disease in his brain.
Yeah.
And
those are hard to see.
And there's nothing that I could legitimately do about it because he had closed himself off so much that I couldn't get in anymore.
Yeah.
And so you have to look at it like that too. It's a tough topic, but it's a topic that we need to talk about more.
For sure.
Because sweeping it under the rug, not doing anybody any good.
And I call that tolerance, right? We tolerate some of these things happening, and we tolerate that, they're in a bad mood, and we tolerate that they acted this way, or, things like that. And I think for me, in my experience, it comes down to we can't tolerate things anymore. Does that make any sense? Like,
we need to be more active in
like we say,
watching.
That's not acceptable.
We need to be more active in watching, particularly people that are really super close to us, that we know super well. Those are the people we care about the most. We need to let them know we care about them the most.
Right.
Because if you're not telling people and not showing them love, how do they know that?
Yeah.
And if they're really struggling with some demons, they need to hear that.
Yeah.
They need you to be that person yelling, because to get through to them that you really and truly care about them, and that you will have consequences if they decide to take their own life.
Yes. And really, you're the one has the consequences. The family, the friends.
Yeah, because I think that when people start taking the focus off of themselves and they put it on somebody else, like, listen, like, I am the world's worst, and I'm going to claim it. And I don't mean to be this way. Like, my dog is sick, so you know what I'm doing? Like, I'm buying groceries. I'm making his own food. I'm making their food. Like being like neurotic about all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm costing myself a lot of time, a lot of money to make sure he's okay. And then at the end of it, I'm so tired, I go out and get Jack in the Box. Because I'm not taking care of myself.
Right.
I'm taking care of them. And we do have to take care of ourselves too, by the way. I'm not advocating that.
Absolutely.
But I'm the world's worst because I will want to take care of somebody else. So,
but if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of somebody else.
Correct.
Certainly
you have
not
to have that
long
balance.
Term. Yes.
You do have to have that balance in between. But I think that when you have that balance in between, where you're taking care of yourself and you're also you take the focus off of yourself. So let's say I'm having some inner demons.
Yes.
I personally know this is my little trick to get myself out of depression. I'll go help somebody else.
Sure.
Because it takes the focus off of me.
Sure.
And when I go help somebody else, my demons get smaller.
Okay. Yeah.
Like when my dog...
When you start closing the door to your bedroom and things like that, that's when they get louder and louder, and sure, makes sense. Those little demons that whisper in your ear, if you give them too much of a vacuum, they get louder and louder and louder, and eventually what they're whispering to you becomes your reality. You believe it, even though it's not real. You believe it. I've even stopped people and said, stop listening to the demons that are whispering in your ear, because what they're saying, they're lying to you. It's not true. Right. You are actually
a good person that is capable, that is loving, but they're telling you something different and you're believing them. Stop believing them.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question, and I'm just going to be really blunt. Is suicide selfish?
I'm not going to say that it's selfish.
Okay. And that's okay.
The research has actually shown that people that die by suicide, like my friend Katie said, their brain has been so deteriorated by those demons that whisper in their ear. They legitimately have a disease. They're in so much excruciating pain that they cannot bear to face one more day. Okay. So when you say selfish, I feel like that's a very light term for that. Yeah.
Well, and I'm not saying I call it that. I'm not in a place to know if it is or if it isn't.
Right.
That's very common. I think that. I think some of the things that are revolved around suicide are selfish. Is it that they think it through as how it's going to affect other people? Probably not.
Well, because they've got demons whispering in their ear.
Right.
And let me just be really clear. We all have demons that whisper to us.
For sure.
Some people just listen more than others.
Yes. And whether you call them demons or whether you call them, work, or whether you call them whatever they are.
Whatever your word
just so people understand.
Right.
That is legitimately happening for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there. I mean, I've had those demons whisper in my ear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I have too.
What I think that is, when I was young, and when I say young, I'm thinking
You're
in my
young
teens.
now. I mean,
bless your heart. I'm in my 40s.
I'm young too. All right.
I like to think that I'm young.
Yeah.
But when I was much younger, and I was in the first seasons of my life, when you have those demons whispering in your ear, you think this is how it's always going to be.
Yeah.
Like if you grew up in winter and somebody was explaining to you what summer was like, you have no idea because you've never experienced it.
So are you talking like Game of Thrones winter where they're years long?
I'm thinking like if you've lived your whole life in a dark place and people tell you like there's the sunshine out there, you're like, well, I've never seen the sun. I don't know what it looks like.
Right.
When you're in the early part of your life, you only believe that there's one season.
Yeah.
But the older you get, the more you realize, their winter will come, but so will summer.
Yeah.
And you have to wait it out.
And some winters are longer than others.
Right.
But some summers are longer than others.
Right. Absolutely. And, the goal really is to have more summers than winters.
For sure.
And the way that you do that is by really monitoring your own mental health.
Yeah.
And making sure that you have checkpoints in place. And
How can I do that?
I think everybody has to know what their own triggers are.
Okay.
I know when I need to go talk to a therapist.
Okay.
Because if I'm having trouble managing some of my emotions, and I feel like I just need an expert to kind of, am I doing this right? Can you tell me where I'm going? You may know I just really need to talk to somebody and I don't feel like anybody that is around me is really going to understand. Go talk to a therapist.
So I've talked to some people and they haven't been on the podcast. I've talked to them about being on and they're a little bit hesitant, and some of them are therapists. And what I'll say is this, there seems to be two, and I want to hear what you have to say. There's kind of two avenues that I've found so far. One therapist is like, I'm here to listen to you so you can vent, and we talked about listening before and things, and not to tell, but just to listen. And then there's the other type of therapist that I've talked to. They're like, no, we're going to tell you, get your crap together, right? And things like that. What do we look for in a therapist, right? Because to me, the therapy of listening, it's important to be heard, but boy, I want to be told, get your crap together.
I think
that's a trigger for me.
Yeah, I think that
So help us understand that.
I think everybody is different. First of all, I think you need to find a therapist that you like and trust. If you go to someone and you kind of feel like, I'm having a hard time opening up to these people because they feel judgy to me, then that's not the right therapist. Go find another therapist. There are all kinds of, there are all kinds of different therapists, just like there are all kinds of different people.
Yes.
Funny story. Once upon a time, I was actually working retail, and I had a lady that was in the store.
What kind of retail? Can I ask?
It was clothes.
Okay.
Like it was clothes.
Yeah.
So I was in the store, and I see this woman come in, and I'm like, gosh, she looks so familiar.
Yeah.
And I was helping her kind of in the fitting room and everything, getting her some different things. And I kept thinking, why does she seem so familiar to me? And then she got her stuff, left the store, and it didn't hit me till later. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my therapist. That's the therapist I'd seen like years ago.
Sure.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if she recognized me, because I was not expecting to see her in that setting.
Yeah, it's like they actually do go out.
Yeah,
they do things.
They're actually real people. And I think, all of them probably have different philosophies on how to handle things. So you've just got to find the right therapist that is right for you. Yeah. I have had therapists that have kind of had me just kind of self-actualize, so where I'm talking enough that I just come up with the solutions to my own problems. So more like
they coach you, right? Because a coach will pull things out for you to learn.
Right. So I've had therapists that have done that, and I've had some therapists that have just straight up looked at me and said, you realize that's dysfunctional, right?
Sure.
And
see, that's what
I was like, no, tell me more. I did not know that was dysfunctional.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you just have to find the right therapist for you. There's no one easy solution. And if you go to a therapist and you don't like them, try another one.
Yeah.
Not everybody's alike.
Let's wrap up soon. I want 2 questions answered.
Okay.
First question is this. How does a person get involved with people in their life? And the second question is how do people that want to get involved on a broader scale like yourself, how do they do that? So those 2 things.
So the first part of the question, how do you get more involved with people in your life? You just ask. Sometimes people are going to turn you down.
Yeah.
But
and I was going to say, what about rejection?
You just got to
get over yourself.
Get over yourself.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, do you know how many people reject me every day? It's fine.
Sure.
You
must be in sales.
I'm in sales. So people reject me all the time. It's fine.
Right.
But I think here's how easy it is, and particularly easy to go up and talk to a stranger. But you can use this with people in your own life. Yeah. All you have to do is go up and say, listen, I've been watching you. I think you're super interesting. I'd really like to get to know you better. Yeah. Would you mind if I buy you a cup of coffee sometime?
Nice.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you have to say, and then do it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's that simple. I could go out here and say that to somebody in the lobby, and I bet they would have coffee with me.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're going to say no. Like if you're going to have a podcast situation like this, this scares people.
Sure.
So they might be more likely to say no.
And before you answer the second question, I reached out to your organization, said I was going to be in the area, and I wanted to do a podcast with someone. I didn't care who it was. I just want to make that clear. And you're like, well, and this is over messaging. And you're like, well, boy, my story's not very good, right? I don't remember your exact words. I'm paraphrasing. But I guess you're stuck with me.
Yeah.
And that's what I heard. And so the exact reason I'm doing this is because so many people feel that way.
Right.
My story doesn't count. No, it does. It counts to somebody for sure. And whether or not you have an opportunity to do that on a large scale or not, that's not up to me or you or whatever. That's just up to what happens, right? But I think that we have to understand as people, our story is valuable to someone who asks us.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Because when you reached out, I immediately thought, he wants somebody that has had somebody very close to them, a child, a parent that has died by suicide, or is an attempt survivor. And trust me, we have those people among us.
Yes.
They're usually very hesitant to talk.
And someday maybe we'll be able to sit down with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But my expectations are not that, is what I'm saying.
It's it's hard really to get people to open up and be personal. But I decided before I came here today, I was going to share something with you that I have not shared with anybody else.
Okay, good.
Because, you know, I went on, like I went to the walk, I did the whole book, like the whole thing, right?
Yep.
And I really have been passionate about human connection ever since then.
Yeah.
But and it's because I always look forward and I never really look back at my own stuff.
Sure.
And I was thinking, you know, why was that such a passionate moment of me standing there at that walk? That didn't really make a lot of sense.
Right.
But it does make sense if there was this one moment.
Yeah.
When I was 25 years old, I was married to this man that was not a great man.
Okay.
He hadn't worked for 2 years. I actually think he may have been doing some drugs that I didn't know about.
Sure.
There was a lot of stuff that was going on, but I was working 2 jobs to keep us afloat.
Yeah.
I was stressed out of my mind. He wasn't helping me at all. I would come home, the dishes would be piled in the sink, the laundry was everywhere. Like, there was
zero effort.
Stressed out, depressed, and I grew up in a family that was always put an emphasis on everything has to be very perfect. So I was wound up pretty tight anyway.
Okay.
I didn't realize it, had not cried since I was 14 years old.
Really?
That is some super emotional times between 14 and 25.
For sure.
A girl doesn't cry? Are you serious?
Right.
But at that particular moment, I was going through all of this stress and I was so wound up, so tight, trying to hold everything together that one day the dam broke. And somebody hit something in just the right way that it just cracked and everything fell away.
Hoover Dam.
I started sobbing in a way and I couldn't stop. And I legitimately could not stop crying. And I cried until I was probably dehydrated enough that I was in physical pain.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I could think to actually help relieve that pain, because my head was pounding, I couldn't stop. I thought, I'm just going to get in the bathtub because usually the bathtub makes me feel better.
Right, yeah.
so I pour a warm bath and I'm sitting in the bathroom, still can't stop sobbing.
Yeah.
And I sobbed so hard that I eventually get to the point where I'm dry heaving into the toilet and I'm naked and wet and laying on the bathroom floor, dry heaving into a toilet. And I thought,
broken.
The thought occurred to me at that moment that there is a straight edge razor blade in that medicine cabinet.
Is that right?
And how easy would it be for me to just get myself out of pain and just end it all right this second?
Yeah.
And at just that moment, when I'm thinking that, I look over into the corner and I see this little dog I had who was blind. And the thought occurred to me, what would happen to her if anything happened to me?
Yeah.
And instead of going and getting the razor blade, I went and picked up the dog.
Yeah.
And I said, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And she saved me that day.
Yeah.
It's probably why I'll always have a dog in my house.
Sure.
I hadn't thought about that moment for years until you were said, well, everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And I thought back to that moment. I said, I may not have a label that says,
I'm tearing up a little bit, Erica.
Yeah.
That's a powerful story. I'm not kidding.
I may not have a label that says I'm an attempt survivor because I didn't
Correct.
actually physically attempt.
Yes.
But I've been in that moment and
Yeah.
I know what that feels like and it's agonizing.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what sparked such a passion for me in 2017 is because
all those years later.
all these years later, I didn't know why, but I knew that there was something in me that understood it maybe better than most because I'd been in that moment.
Yeah.
And nobody knew.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
So no, it's not your
Extremely
typical
powerful.
story, but
It's
definitely a story.
It is a story, and we all have them. Yeah. Question 2.
Okay.
How do you get involved on a larger scale like yourself? What's advice there?
So many of our cities in the nation have an Out of the Darkness walk
Okay.
from the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. If you really want to get involved, what you need to do is you need to go sign up for the walk. The walk is free.
Okay.
It is a very moving event.
Yeah.
To have that many people in the same area that have gone through the same experience that you have, and raise money. And when I say raise money, I'm telling this because I've done it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, who am I? I don't have a lot of rich friends, because I don't.
Yeah.
But 2 days after I got the diagnosis that my dog was probably going to die, I was devastated.
Yeah.
But there was a little challenge that came through in the email that said, raise $200 in 10 days by asking these 10 people for $20. It's a pretty easy list. It starts out with put your own $20 in.
Sure.
Number 2 is ask your spouse or partner, which easy for most people. I don't have a spouse or partner, so I asked my ex-boyfriend, and you know what?
There you go.
He gave me $20.
All right.
Number 3 was, ask your mother or father, and coworkers, supervisor. It has like a whole list.
Yeah.
So I started doing this, and I just started putting it on social media. Look, I've got a $200 goal.
Yeah.
I raised almost $900.
Wow, nice.
A little over
That's
10
awesome.
days by just doing that. So. That money goes back to fund that research and put in those programs that we know are so desperately needed. So if you really want to get involved, that would be a great way to do it.
Yeah, yeah. That's incredible. Thank you. I'm going to give you the last word.
Oh, you are?
I am.
Okay.
So someone I'm guessing that you've had to deal with this. Someone that's in that moment right now that might be listening, watching, whatever, and is like, I've made the plan. I'm going to do it. And this is just that moment in their day or their week that they stumbled across this, or whatever the case is, that they're there right now listening. Talk to them.
If you're in that moment, I would say people are calling for you because they love you.
Yeah.
And your life is important. And you may not be able to see it right now at this very moment. It took me 20 years to get off that bathroom floor and to have a passion like this for suicide prevention. 20 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes longer to get into your passion, but the summer is coming.
Yeah.
You may not be able to see it now, but it could be right over the horizon. They would need to think about all the things that they would miss and all the people that would be so grieved if anything happened to them. Because they really, even if they don't believe it in their heart, because the demons have whispered in their ear,
lied in their ear,
everyone is valuable. There's not one person I sat down with last year that I didn't think was valuable. Yeah. Not one. I still, there may be some people that I don't like.
Right. But you didn't get along with, you don't. Yes, I get that.
You are put here for a reason. And your reason is not to take yourself out at this moment.
Yeah.
That would be my advice. Find somebody that is a loving person in your life and start to listen to them instead of the people talking to you, Erica, in your ear. And maybe it's me. And you know what? People want to reach out to me.
And what I mean by that, though, is not specifically, but generally.
Absolutely.
Reach out to organizations. They are there for a reason, because they are passionate like yourself to help people get through that season. And
I will say, listen, I'm not a therapist. So, like, if you're really in that moment, you probably need to be calling like a professional. Let's be honest.
But you're there in a crisis.
Right. People will be there in a crisis. However, there's a national suicide hotline.
Yep.
Please call them. Those people are trained to deal with people that are right there in the moment in a way that I really am not. So let's say that. There's also a text line that you can actually text. If you feel more comfortable, you can do that as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different resources that are out there. Go to the afsp.org. A lot of that information is actually already on the website. It's easily accessible. There are people that are willing to listen to you. And if you feel like right now you don't have anybody in your life willing to do that, there are resources that are out there that are free, and people believe that you are valuable, so they want to hear from you.
Yeah, great. So now we're going to put up the website that you just mentioned, and we're also going to put up your contact, or however we get a hold of your book. So tell us how to do that.
All you have to do is go to Amazon, type
Okay.
in 52 New Friends by Erica
So
McBeth. 52 New Friends.
Okay.
Spelled exactly the way that it sounds,
Yeah.
by Erica McBeth. You can type it into Amazon. It will come up. All you have to do is order the book.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's how they help.
And it's going to go, that money, the proceeds of that money go directly into an account that's going directly right back to suicide prevention.
And Erica, we've been sitting here chatting for a while. I'm almost awake now, finally. So,
Good.
no, thanks a lot for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.